Hospitality Meets is brought to you by Rota'd, the staff scheduling app for hospitality teams. Rota'd lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the Rota'd mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Chelsea Lacey, front-of-house receptionist at Pennyhill Park and AICR Receptionist of the Year. Coming up on today's show, Chelsea reveals she lives in a make-believe world,
and I was having to use my invisible laptop.
Phil explains where he likes to live to love his life, away from all the riffraff. And brace yourself as Chelsea sets us up for one of her stories.
You can never be prepared for this.
All that and so much more as Chelsea chats us through her story so far, as well as giving us some fantastic insight into what it takes to win the AICR Receptionist of the Year. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to give us a subscribe, a like and a share across your favourite social channels. Enjoy! And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to AICR Receptionist of the Year, Chelsea Lacey.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, very good indeed. We're recording this at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So not that that's really a normal kind of end of day or week shift for people in your kind of role. But for me, the end is very, very close.
Yeah, I can imagine. This is sort of typical. We don't really get weekends. We get midweek weekends. So this is either a very good end or a very good start to a work week for me.
Yeah, but you know that midweek weekend,
Mm-hmm.
It can be really useful as well though. Like especially if you're like going out shopping or trying to get reservations at restaurants and stuff like that. Maybe not in December, but the rest of the year.
Yeah, I especially find it useful getting like the basics, like my nails done, your hair done.
Yeah, I find that too.
Yeah, I can see you've got a great hairdo going on at the moment. Christmas style. But it's so useful. I think people tend to have like a stipulation, if you will, against the non-9 to 5 work shift.
Yeah.
I just feel like it works so well for me, like especially with Christmas. Go shopping on a Wednesday, no one's there.
Yeah.
They're all at work. But yeah, so it just works for people really.
Yeah, and nobody talks about that as being actually potentially a cheeky little benefit because, you get to do all your stuff when everybody else is mentally busy with their stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, you can go get your nails done on a Tuesday afternoon because you got the day off and you're first in and out within an hour and you're set to go for the rest of the day rather than sat waiting on a Friday or a Saturday afternoon for what feels like hours just waiting to get them done. So it does have its definite perks, I feel. But I think it definitely depends on the person because some people definitely prefer the 9 to 5 sort of set schedule of, I've got these days working, the weekend off, I'm working 9 to 5. Whereas with us, it's very shift work. You could be working in the morning, you could be working in the evening, but then that also works because if you have something going on like a friend's birthday or something, you can just ask for an early shift and then the day off after and you're good to go. Like you can really work your week around what you have going on in a sense, really.
Why would you need the day off the day after somebody's party?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest. Just a bit of, relax, just sort of reflect
they want
on
to do
the
something
evening.
Else. Yeah.
Exactly. It's definitely not sort of recovery at all. No. Especially Christmas time. It's more reflecting on how the evening went, really.
That's right.
It's personal experience anyway.
Yeah. And do you know what I find as well nowadays, because I don't do generally any shopping across the weekend at all because it's just bedlam. Yeah. And that goes for food shopping as well. And now if I feel like I have forgotten something and I don't learn that until Saturday morning and I need this thing to get through the weekend, it's like going into a horror movie in the local supermarket just to get whatever it is that you need.
I know. I'm so used to going, if I need to do like a food shop or something, I'm so used to there not being very many people around, because it's normally sort of mid-afternoon on a like a Wednesday or Thursday.
Mm.
And then when I actually go in, I just become overwhelmed with the amount of people that are actually there, and I forget, oh, these places actually get busy on a weekend.
Yeah.
And you sort of get like overwhelmed with how many people are actually there, and you're like fighting off some lady for the carrots or something. You're like, this is crazy. What am I doing? I just wait until Monday.
Yeah. Did you ever think you'd come on a podcast and use the phrase "fighting off a lady for carrots"?
Do you know what? It was on my bucket list. So
Good. There
we'll
we
take
are.
that one out.
Yeah.
No, never.
No,
Never. I don't even think I'll be in a podcast.
but we're already flying the flag for hospitality here by talking about actually maybe something that people haven't thought about, which is the fact that your midweek weekend can be an absolutely glorious thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think people tend to have like a negative thought on it, when really it can be so much better than what you think.
Hmm.
Like, my social life isn't held back because I work rotated work or rotated shifts.
Yeah,
I can really sort of, if I just let my manager know, oh, by the way, I just need this day on an early, or I'd need this Friday off and the next day a late shift, like 99% of the time you're going to get it. It's just
yeah,
very, very rare, mainly towards like the holidays. But again, even that, so this year I'm working Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day, but I quite enjoy it. Actually, I quite
yeah.
like the Christmas season, in the sense of all guests are very lovely, everyone very wonderful, but
All the
during the
time.
Christmas all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
every day, every minute.
yeah,
But during Christmas time, there tends to be more of a festive happiness going around,
yeah.
and it's quite nice to have that slight break, if
Yeah,
you will.
I completely agree with you. When back in the day when I used to work on cruise ships, and I was pretty much on Christmas every single year that I
Yeah.
worked on ships. But I never wanted to take myself off it, because you're right. I don't know. There's like this extra 20%, 30% of
Hmm.
joy that's just
Yeah.
around. So even when somebody is complaining about their overcooked broccoli, they're complaining about it in a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's like they're complaining, but there's like a positive aspect to it. It's not like a "Rrr, I'm
Yeah,
complaining" sort of. But yeah, and it's also, you work, it's the team as well. So you work with your team all the time. Like, I probably see my team more than I actually see my family.
yeah,
And when you spend special days like Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, like all of those days together, you sort of become really close. And it's sort of like you're spending Christmas with your work family, and then you go back home to your family. So it's
yeah.
not really much of a difference, really.
No,
But
indeed.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
it's
in some
fun.
instances, it's nicer to spend time with your work family. I have to say, not in
Yeah.
my family. I love all of you dearly. I'm sure you're the same. So, but anyway, we're not even kind of really got into this yet, but we're already solving problems. We're already
Already.
highlighting some of the good stuff that happens in the industry. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned at the top of the show that you're this year's AICR Receptionist of the Year, and we are absolutely going to get into that. But what I wanted to do before we do that is kind of go all the way back to the beginning, really, and tell us about your journey to this point and how did you end up here. So the question usually is centered around how did you get into hospitality in the first place?
It's a very great question. So,
Sometimes it happens, by the way.
yes, it just
Sometimes,
happens. It just
yeah,
happens. I never really had a plan from the start. I never was one of those people that was, when they were young, oh, I'm going to be, a pilot or whatever, and they stuck to it, and that's what they studied. At the start I wanted to be a veterinarian. That clearly didn't pan out, clearly.
well,
Um
there's never say never.
Never say never. Um, but yeah, so I finished my GCSEs. I went to college for 3 months, really didn't like it. So I ended up leaving and I went into full-time work, because I'm just not very academic person learning wise. I'm more of a hands-on learning. So I went straight to full-time work when I was 17. And I started off in a kids' toy store.
Okay.
That's the beginning of the journey here, really. So I did kids' toy store. Then I've had so many jobs through the years. Kids' toy store. I worked shoe sales for kids. So I used to sell them like their school shoes.
Right.
That was in the back of a travel agent's. So that was
Of course.
interesting. Of course, where else would you find it?
I mean, those two things just go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah,
Or
you're
is it
buying your
foot in
kids'
foot?
shoes.
Sorry.
But yeah, so you're buying your kids' shoes and then you're booking a holiday at the same time. So it sort of works out, really.
I mean, actually, yeah, you're saving some time as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I went and did that, and then I went to, what did I go to then? I went and worked at a Pizza Express. That was very fun. So I worked there for a couple of years, worked my way up to management, and then I moved over to Starbucks. So I was an assistant manager there. And then during the COVID period. So we went into
The
furlough.
COVID period.
The COVID period.
Yeah.
We try not to talk about that too much.
No. Well, do you know what? It's what everybody calls it now, though. That is I
Yeah.
think, probably even the official term. But
Yeah.
so does that mean then at some point down the line, we're going to have COVID period dramas? Like we
I
have
think
period
so.
dramas.
Well,
So,
I've already seen so many TV shows, like all of the medical dramas that I watch, they've already done like a COVID episode in it. And I'm like, has it really been that long?
yeah, God. Yeah. God.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, has it really been that long since it all happened? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I was thinking the other day actually, like during the whole when it was happening, I was like, me and my partner, we were talking to each other, and he was like, "Do you think they're going to be teaching this in schools in like the
As
years to
part of
come?"
history.
Yeah, as part of history, it'd
Yeah.
be the COVID period, which is crazy if it does happen. That's kind
Yeah.
of scary, but
No,
we lived
indeed.
through it.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
I know.
Yeah. But anyway, it's been so overdone, this COVID
Hmm.
thing. Now, let's. So that was
We'll
during the
move
COVID
on.
period,
That was during the
um,
COVID period.
with
Um,
Starbucks.
with Starbucks, and I ended up just leaving. So I I did online college for a bit for business. And then essentially what happened is they went back to online teaching, and I just didn't gel with that. So I ended up leaving again. So then I went and worked in a pub.
Right. So that speaks to what you were saying earlier on around the fact, from an academic perspective, in terms of the way that you learn, that kind of sit down in front of the computer classroom type thing just doesn't get the best out of you.
Yeah, it just doesn't really work with me. I've tried it. I've tried college 3 times, each time not completing it. So I think that third one, it was no, we definitely work better hands on, sort of learning on the job sort of style. So that's sort of where we're going from now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did that college course, then went to work at a pub, which absolutely loved. Best job, hands down. Obviously, apart from the one I'm currently in, has
Obviously.
overtaken it. Obviously,
Yeah.
but at the time, it was the best job.
What made
Um,
it good? What were the good points?
it was just so much fun. It was just so much fun. All the team were really close, obviously, because we were working. It was a pub that turned into a sort of a nightclub, if you will, at night.
Right.
So we had like a dance floor, we had a DJ, everything, the whole shebang, light up dance floor, all of that. So we were working from about, I'd say, three till 5 until 4 in the morning. So yeah, you get really close with the people that you work with when you're getting into early hours, and you don't really get a break because the bar's about 5 people deep, and
Yeah.
you're having to like push through it, and you're taking turns sneaking out the back, downing a monster and getting back to it. So you sort of bond over that. So it was just so much fun. And we used to do like themed nights. We had like a Hawaiian night every Halloween, all the team dressed up. So yeah, it had a lot of very fun elements to it.
Yeah, I mean, you see an interesting side of life when people have got a drink in them, don't you? That's the
Hmm.
bottom line.
Yes,
Highly entertaining.
it was highly entertaining. And I think throughout my time at the pub, I think, yeah, you just sort of see a new side to people. I think I was proposed to about 3 times. Um, I had one gentleman ask me, he said that he would pay 3 months of my wages to move up to London with him.
I love.
So you really sort of get a whole new perspective of what people are like, and you know, you get the really nice people, you get the people crying in the corner and you're having to console them. But yeah, it's just a whole other side of hospitality that's just a lot of fun, in my opinion. It doesn't work for everyone, but it was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, totally. But you know, the guest experience in whatever form that comes is all about
Mhm.
what people need in that moment, right? So
Yeah.
it's if one of the things that they love to do is to go out on a Friday night and get battered,
Hmm.
and you know, it surrounded by other people who want to do the same, then you know, let them.
Yeah,
As long as
we're
they're not
just
causing any
providing.
harm, which
Yeah,
does happen from time to time. But
yeah, we'll skip over that part
yeah,
of the of the job. But yeah, we're just technically we're just the ones providing the entertainment for them, the drink for them to have.
yeah. And drunk
Um,
people when you're sober is one of the most entertaining things that can ever happen. I
oh, it's very fun.
I always remember one of my first ever jobs as a bartender. I was working in a caravan park, and for whatever reason, they saw something in me, and they gave me, after 3 months, the running of the owners' bar, which is where all the owners go who own caravans and lodges and things. So
Yeah.
it's like a little private members club for them, basically,
Hmm.
away from all the riffraff. Somehow, some riffraff got in one night, and I was refusing to serve somebody on the basis that they were just completely gone.
Yeah.
And this guy took a swing at me with a Budweiser bottle, but he was so drunk that he was easily 2 meters away from me when he did this. So he missed me by a meter and a half. And of course, what happens then is that security see this happening, and they were straight on top of him, and he was ejected from the premises. Never
Hmm.
actually did I feel like I was under threat or
Yeah.
anything like. I was actually struggling not to laugh at
Yeah.
the situation. But you know, everybody thinks of Superman, don't they, when they've got a bit of liquor in them?
Oh, 100%. We like remember just working and you'd see these huge, like 6 foot something guys who, you know, thought they owned everything, and at the end of the night you could just blow on them and
Yeah,
they topple over.
yeah. Their
Um
their their pants are coming out their jeans, and that
yeah.
sort of, yes. But that's a trend in some places. So
So yeah, so
um,
that was very fun
yeah,
working at the pub. And then I decided to give admin a go. I was determined to try and see what the 9 to 5 life was like. So I did admin for a company for about 5 months. And then I realized that the 9 to 5 life doesn't quite suit me.
right,
So that's how I then ended up at Pennyhill.
right, okay. What was it about the 9 to 5 that wasn't lighting your fire?
I don't know. I think I'm the opposite of, I just don't really enjoy that set schedule of, you know, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, weekend off.
Right,
It just sort of doesn't mold well with me. I quite like having the change. And I think I've been doing rotated work for so long at that point that it was sort of just normal for me to have a random sort of 11 start shift or finishing at 4 a.m. So it sort of was just it felt alien to me finishing
right.
at 5.
Yeah,
Oh, and
well,
sitting in all the traffic as well. That was the main point.
right. Yeah. So there we are. We found the real reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think that this is, I suppose, part of the journey, though, isn't it? To kind
Hmm.
of, you have to sometimes dip your toe into stuff to figure out
Hmm.
what's wrong as much as what is right.
Yeah.
How did Pennyhill come about then? Because you know, Pennyhill is a wonderful bastion of luxury. I have
Yeah.
been lucky enough to be there and experience it.
Oh,
Thank you, Rachel. Um, and yeah, so how did that all kind of materialize?
So when I was looking to leave my admin job, I knew I definitely at that point I was definitely set on hospitality. I wasn't doing the corporate world, so I was like, it has to be hospitality. This is where I'm meant to be. And I thought, I've done restaurants, I've done pubs, I've done all that sort of side of it. Maybe hotels, I'll give hotel a try. I haven't done that yet. Let's see how it goes. It's just another side of hospitality that I haven't had the experience of.
Yeah.
So I was looking on Indeed. I was having a look through all the local ones, and Pennyhill popped up. So it wasn't actually a receptionist role that I originally applied for. It was guest relations. So I applied for that. I went into the interview, and journey starts from there at Pennyhill, and I got the job.
The rest is history.
Rest is history.
Yeah. But this is what I love. And also, I mean, God, you couldn't have picked a
Oh yeah,
better start for your
yeah,
hotel experience
yeah. To be
than
fair,
that. Um,
I wasn't even too sure I was gonna get the opportunity. I was thinking in my head, I was thinking it's a 5-star luxury hotel. Like I'd done my research on it, and I was like, on my CV, it's just pub, restaurant at a petrol station. So in my head, I was like, I don't quite know what to expect. Like,
don't
am I
forget
not
shoes behind a travel agent.
shoes in a travel agents?
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that might have been the one that sort of tilted them towards hiring me.
I think there's no question about that. Yeah.
So I
That's what
wasn't.
got you in the door. They were like, "What's that on the CV? We need to explore. What's this?"
Yeah. That's what they were looking for on the checklist. Has worked in a shoe store inside travel agents, and clearly I ticked the box there.
Yeah,
So yeah. So, but yeah, it was it just started from there really. Applying for the job and took a risk, obviously, because not really sure. I haven't worked in hotels. I haven't worked in that kind of 5-star luxury either. So I didn't really have that luxury side of the experience.
mm,
But that's the one I will say. It's one of the great things about Pennyhill and exclusive is they really, as long as you have a willing to learn and continue growing, they're not too fussed on your background
yeah.
and your previous
I was going to
history.
highlight that as well because
Yeah.
I think it's testament to them because
Hmm.
not all companies do that. And as a recruiter, I get to see this firsthand.
Mm.
Is that you get some companies who are really rigid in the way that they look for people. This is what we've had before, so that's what we want again. Whereas to have the kind of the fortitude that actually what we want is the human.
Hmm.
We'll fill in the rest.
Yeah.
And as long as the willingness is there, as you say, and the desire to keep learning and growing through, and I suppose in the role that you're in as well, that speaks directly to the way that you learn as well,
Hmm.
because you being on reception, you can't learn other than deal with the stuff that comes up, right? So
Yeah.
nobody can really give you a playbook of everything that's ever happened on reception and go, that's what you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
Start swatting.
It'd be a pretty
Um,
big book.
Endless, I think.
Endless.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I've spoken to people who've been in this industry for their whole life, and
Yeah.
still, on the day they retire, something comes up that they've not seen before. So
Yeah.
it's vast and endless the stuff that you have to deal with as a receptionist. But I also think it's one of the greatest jobs that exists on the planet when you're at the beginning of your career, because it beyond what it can give you to your career, I think it just teaches you about life, really,
Hmm.
and about people, and about the all of the kind of stuff that you will probably just have to deal with on a day-to-day basis in your own life anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. The with the people side of it, you learn how to read. Like one of the most important ones is you learn how to read people and sort of you know obviously everyone will get the same very professional, very welcoming sort of person during their stay, if you will,
Yeah,
but you sort of alter that to the person themselves. So some people like them more professional, more formal, sort of good evening, sir, good evening, madam. Obviously, you do that for most people, or they like to be called Mr. Smith, if you will. That's what they
yeah.
prefer. Whereas
Even if they're
some
called something
people,
else.
even if they call something else, they just
Yeah.
say Mr. Smith. It's just the general general name that we
We'll
go
start
for.
with Smith and we'll work out from there.
It's like a just like a guess who. You just got to
Yeah.
figure out what the last name is when you're talking to them. And then obviously some people they prefer professional but more relaxed.
Yeah.
because obviously this might be the first time them being in like a 5-star luxury experience, a hotel. So they might feel sort of a little bit out of their comfort zone. So you sort of tone yourself down, still being professional, but to make them feel more comfortable in the environment. So you sort of learn how to read people and how you talk to them and sort of what words you use when you talk to them,
Yeah,
as well as you just learn so much, so
yeah,
much. There's
absolutely.
endless things. Like you said, I think I learn about 15 new things every day
Yeah,
about the job, the system, what's going on, you know. It's endless, but it's
yeah,
great fun. It keeps you on your toes.
without question. Yeah, and you what you said there about like learning to read people as well, like
Mhm.
you can tell, can't you, like when you
Yeah.
can see somebody walking towards you, and you can totally tell by their body language and general demeanor whether this is going to be an enjoyable conversation or
Mhm.
whether there's going to be something to deal with here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you sort of you brace yourself in
Yeah,
certain with certain people when they come up to you, you're like, okay, right. Oh, right.
yeah,
Ooh, okay, cool. They're coming this way. Let's talk
yeah.
to them.
What's wrong with your face, sir? Yeah. I've said no one ever in a hospitality business, but that's what runs through my head when I'm just because, do you know, I am a great believer, and rightly or wrongly, and this is probably just my own defense mechanism, but I use humor to counter
Mhm.
as many things as I can. I just think
Yeah.
that laughing and being in that state of mind is just a wonderful place to be. So, regardless of this is how I used to handle stuff. Thankfully, I don't really deal with this kind of stuff that much these days. But I'll be running through scenarios in my head that will be
Mhm.
humorous,
Oh
which
yeah.
keeps me in a light state of mind to be able to actually deal with whoever it is that's on the other side of the desk.
Yeah. And yeah, there's some people who you can solve things just with being funny, but from coming from so I started with guest relations first, so that was mainly sort of dealing with complaints or helping people with any issues that they had. And like 80% of the time they just want someone to talk to rant to is
Yeah.
what it is most of the time. As the biggest like defense that we can have is just a pen and a piece of paper and just write it all down and just let them, like, you just need to not take it personal. It's the biggest thing I learned from guest relations really in the time that I was there, is you
Mm.
just really can't take anything personal. They're not having a go at you, they're just ranting and about their experience.
Yeah.
As well as at the end of the day, it's not the fact that, like, you do get guests who have bad experiences, but that's, you know, it's no one's fault. It's not the guest's fault. It's a fault on our end, and it's how we fix that. And you sort of learn through people sort of what you think would make their stay more better, or
Mm.
how you would resolve that. But yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of has been learned and a lot more to carry
Will
on.
be, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's deeply satisfying, isn't it, when you turn
Mhm.
around a negative situation to not even just a positive situation, but a situation whereby at the end of the stay, the guest will actually come and find you before they leave because you've just made that much of a difference to their experience.
Oh, it's so good. It like warms my heart. Honestly, I had one guest a couple months ago, and they had some issues on their last day, so I invited them back for a complimentary stay with us, and I made sure that I was on the rota for the entirety of their stay. I think they were there for like 2 nights, 3 days. So I was like, right, I'm going to be on for the whole thing. I'm going to be there. So I was there for the entire stay for them. I wrote like a little card for them in the room, and this time it was just so much better, such a hugely better experience for them. And at the end, they obviously like came and thanked me, they gave me a hug, and then they ended up writing a TripAdvisor, and they were like, told me that, oh, we'll let you know when we want to book next, because we'll book through you, and this is the place to be. You've like completely 180 our opinions of what we thought was Pennyhill. And that's sort of what you want it to be like.
Mm,
You want to be able to show people what Pennyhill is,
yeah.
and being able to give them that whole package of an experience. So yeah, it feels really good when you're able to sort of flip the situation into a positive thing for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how much an organization or individuals seek to be perfect.
Hmm.
We can never be perfect, right? So
Yeah.
there's always going to be circumstances where companies, even who are at the top of their game, will fall short of expectation in some way,
Hmm.
which is fine. That happens, but it's not so much about how that or how and when that happens. It's about what you do to do your best to turn that around.
Yeah.
And that's I think that that's I think as a we're all consumers of hospitality as well as being in the industry as well. And actually, when you put yourself in the shoes of these people, you actually
Hmm.
a lot of the time when you think, well, what would I want in a situation like this? And all I really want is to know that I'm being heard and to know that somebody's taking it seriously and dealing with it. And if those things are happening, then I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to do it, is you just put yourselves in their shoes, and rather than getting defensive about, this is my hotel, like nothing's wrong. It's just understanding from their point of view what they think isn't up to their standards. Because obviously everyone coming into the hotel has different standards of what their expectations are
Mm,
of what's going to happen throughout their stay.
yeah.
But it's how you resolve it is really what keeps them coming. And we've got people very loyal to the hotel, and you know
I can
it's very
understand why.
fun.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful place.
Very
Is the,
lovely.
is this where I've written it down on my notes as the pillowcase guest is? Is that where that
Oh,
story is?
oh yes, yeah. So
That's what I've called them. You've probably called them something else, but
so I'm sure we're talking about the same thing. So we have a lady stay with us, wonderful woman, wonderful lady, so lovely. And she stays with us for about 4 months or so. So she basically lives at the
wow,
hotel
right,
for a couple
yeah,
months. She's booked again for next year, so we'll see her again.
right,
But yeah, so she lives with us because she lives in a different country. So when she comes to see family, she just stays with us. And it was coming to maybe like the second week before she had to leave, first or second week. And she came down to myself and Cindy, who's our guest relations supervisor. And she was like, "Oh, I'm expecting a package. Can you let me know when it's here?" So we were like, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll take it up to the room for you. No issue at all." So we take the package up to the room. And she calls us. She goes, "I think you've delivered the wrong package." And I was like, "No, that's, it was definitely the one that you ordered. It had your name on it and everything." She's like, "Well, I ordered some pillowcases from M&S, but they've delivered me a vase, like a flower vase." And we were like, "Okay,
hmm.
right. This is interesting. No, it definitely was your package, I promise you." So yeah, so she ended up getting delivered a vase instead. So we were like, "Well, do you need us to run out and grab your pillowcases? Because, you're leaving very, very soon. Like, you're packing everything up." And she's like, "No, no, it's fine. I'll go get some more." So yeah, she's gone now for the year. But me and Cindy have said that we're gonna, next year when she arrives, we're gonna put a vase in her room with a card that says, "Dear," her name, "hope you enjoy the pillowcases. Enjoy your
Love
stay,
it.
Chelsea and Cindy."
Yeah, absolutely. But that's these are the little touches that I mean, I hope she sees the funny side. Sounds like she's got that kind of sense of humor anyway. But
Yeah, 100%.
read the guest again, right? That's the thing. You know your guests. So, but these are the little. This is exactly what we're talking about there as well. Around that, that in that quest for perfection.
Hmm.
That's not even your error, right? That was M&S had sent out
Yeah,
the wrong item.
yeah.
Pillowcases and vase, very similar, travel just as well through the post.
Yeah, I can
Um,
understand the confusion, to be honest.
yeah,
It's but yeah, so we're gonna try do that next year when she arrives. So yeah,
nice.
hopefully she remembers. Fingers crossed anyway. Otherwise it's
Yeah,
just a very bad joke and she's got a
and
free pass.
she'll be straight down to the desk going, What is this? I'm insulted by your pillowcase joke." Um,
But yeah, like I think she's left one of her plants with one of our team, I'm pretty sure, if I remember, to look after
Oh
until
God,
she comes
pressure.
back next year. So a lot of pressure for them. But yeah, it's just guests like her and, you know.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where Rota'd can help. Rota'd is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. Rota'd also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the Rota'd mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
For us, we deal with a lot of like proposals quite regularly. So, you know, it's an absolute honor being some of the first people to congratulate these newly proposed or engaged couples. And like we get guests. I had one guest come in and I did their whole check-in and everything, and I was taking her up to the car in the buggy to grab some bags out. And I was like, oh, so are we celebrating anything, or are we just having a bit of a night away, like baby moon, because she was pregnant as well. And she was like, oh no, we just got engaged like 3 hours ago. We haven't told anyone. You're the first person to know. And
Oh
I
wow,
was
that's
like, are
good.
you
Yeah.
serious? I was like, congratulations. So I got like a little card and a plate put in their room, and they actually wrote me a card to say thank you. So really, it sort of just makes you think that, you know, no matter how big the gesture is you do for a guest, it really can have the biggest impact on them and their stay.
Yeah.
And like for us, we get to see so many firsts, like engagements, like weddings. We get a lot of weddings. So yeah, it's kind of like an honor to be a part of that process of them doing that. So
Yeah, well, that's exactly what hospitality is there for, right? It's to give these people the greatest experience that they can have in these wonderful moments
yeah.
of their life. And we've already spoken about other wonderful moments, like going out on a Friday night and getting battered. Um, but I'm glad you mentioned proposals, actually, because sometimes they don't always go quite according to plan, do they?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
So
Do they not?
this was another story that you wrote on your notes.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if we want to include it though, because it was something where you nearly put your foot in it.
Oh, okay. So it was another one of those lessons. You just got to be really careful.
Yeah,
So we had a guest
but
come in.
you can't get these lessons without living the experience, though, can you?
Oh,
That's the thing.
you can never be prepared for this. So the guest came to check in, and it said on their booking that they just got engaged.
Right.
So it was obviously all over the booking notes when they come to check in. Big congrats to the guests, just got engaged. So it like comes up when you open their booking. It's the first thing you see is big congrats. So they came to check in with me, and I was like, they said, Mr. and Mrs. Smith checking in. I was like, awesome, take a seat. I was like, oh, and we got a big congratulations as well. And they were like, no. They're like, sorry? I was like, a big congratulations, we're celebrating. And they were like, no, sorry, no, I don't know what you're on about. Like the girl was looking at me like I speak in a different language. I was like, what? Okay. He was giving me the eyes of like, what are you doing? So I was
Right.
just like, in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to play this off. So I was like, oh, it's a birthday, isn't it? Oh, happy birthday, congrats. And she's like, no, it's not my birthday. And I was like, oh, I'm so
Oh.
sorry. We must have you mixed up with another room. I do apologize. I was like, oh my gosh. And apparently he hadn't proposed yet. He changed his mind and just didn't let anyone know.
Well, there's
Yeah.
lessons to any guests out there.
Let us know.
Communication is the cornerstone of success in anything,
I know.
let alone delivering experiences to them.
I know. So now any guest that comes in, if it says have just got engaged, they probably think I'm the weirdest person checking them in, because I'm just looking at their hands for at least 3 minutes before I say anything. Like, I will not say anything. If I don't see a ring, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, it'd take an unbelievable set of circumstances for them not to be displaying the ring at every juncture, wouldn't it? Like,
Yeah.
they've just, I don't know, they just broke their finger or something would be maybe one of the only circumstances that would happen where they wouldn't be displaying it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't exactly add, "Can I check your hands?" into the check-in process. Really. Like, you can't add a hand check into the check-in process.
Bring it up at the next team meeting.
So yeah,
but these are the stories that I love to hear, because this is real life. This is the real things that happen, and as discussed, you can't get everything right. You try your level best. And what hope do you have if the guest has not informed you that information is incorrect? But you also, I suppose, you learn to move forward a bit more tentatively with these things.
Definitely tentatively.
Yeah.
Like, I think last time I checked in someone who was engaged, I was like looking over the top of the computer, very sure. I was like, "So can I grab? I just need to check a few details with you first." I saw the ring. I was
what's
like,
that on your hand?
Congratulations! I was like, "I'm so sorry. I just had to check the hand for a ring first before I said anything." Luckily, they found it very, very funny.
Yeah. Well, but now you've got a story to explain why, right? As well. So this is the reason why this is now my procedure for checking your hands before you check in.
Yeah, exactly. So, lessons learned in the sense of check for rings before we say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long have you been at Pennyhill now?
I have been at Pennyhill 1 year and 4 months.
Right.
So,
okay. And so now I suppose we get into the AICR section of the show, which we've never done before. There's never been an AICR section of the show.
Wow.
But how did normally what happens in these circumstances, and your story might be completely different, is that you don't put yourself forward for competitions like this. Somebody else puts you forward for it. So how did it happen in your case?
So I wasn't actually aware until after they'd made their decision. So it was my front of house manager and obviously Rachel, our rooms division manager. So Jay's my front of house manager. So when it was coming close to the time, obviously they had a discussion on who they want to put forward. And obviously it ended up being myself. Then they sat down with me and they were like, "Hey, we want to put you forward. Are you okay with it?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Would love to." So I was we're the second year of putting someone forward. So last year it was my colleague Megan, and this year it was me. So so it was really Jay who wanted to put me forward, and then it was, I think Rachel was the absolutely fine, because obviously she's part of the AICR, so she was the one who would be filling out all the forms and everything. So and then it went off to our general manager to be approved after I'd said yes, and that was terrifying.
Yeah. Did you have to sit in front of him at that point and explain why you are going to win?
Luckily, no. I think it was Jay that went and spoke to him and was like, "Hey, we want to put Chelsea forward." And luckily he said yes. So yeah, that was about it from what my understanding is. But yeah.
But well, these are the sliding doors moments, aren't they? If he turns around and says no, then I mean, I know it's Graham, isn't it? I think is
Graham.
I don't think there's any circumstances where he would have said no.
No, not at all. He's very much the same of, giving people the best chance that they have, and if there's an opportunity open, obviously he will, within reason, let you go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very honoured to have been the chosen one.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, well, it was clearly a good decision. Because well, spoiler alert, you won. But describe the process, because I honestly speaking, I'm not familiar with it myself. So I can't be the only one out there who's not aware of that. So talk us through what you have to go through, the ordeal. that you have to endure.
The ordeal. What it felt like was 6 weeks intensive camp, but in reality, it was. I had to, for our first submission, we had to do a 7-minute video answering 7 questions. Please don't ask me what the questions are. I have no
that's
idea.
fine. That's fine. I don't want to give anybody a heads up that might be contemplating entering it this year as well. Although maybe the questions change every year. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's completely different. I think last year they did a 5-minute video, and then this year it was a 7-minute video.
Right.
So yeah, I had to submit a video doing that. I'm very lucky. So James, our guest relations manager, he does like photography and videography on the side. So he really helped me with the filming of it all.
So were you like walking whimsically through the grounds of Pennyhill as you were giving your answers, and he was gutting?
Much.
Right. Well, why not? Right. Use the grounds that you've got.
Exactly. And I'd said to Rachel at the start, and Jay as well, I was like, do you know what? Look, this is my one and only chance, possibly, to ever submit this video. So I'm just gonna make it as fun, showing off as much of the hotel as possible. Yeah. So there was one part where it was describe a cocktail that relates to your hotel, something along the lines of that. And at the end of it, Rachel gave me the idea. She was like, at the end, you should go, take a sip and go, oh, and it tastes good too, when you're describing it. And then one part, my supervisor, Rebecca, we were on the golf buggy in the grounds filming a bit. And there's one part where I go to look like I'm reversing on it and just drive straight forward. It's like a little bit like that, and the whole team had little bits of input in it, but yeah, it was very fun to film. So that was the first part, and then this year we had semi-finals, which I think is the first time they've done semi-finals.
Right.
So semi-finals, we had to do a 10-minute presentation advocating for year 13s to why they should join front office. Is the scenario. And we had to do that in front of a panel of 5 judges over Zoom.
How did you find that?
Oh,
terrifying.
I had so many technical difficulties.
Oh, really?
So many. By the end of it, I was like, no.
Shot. Yeah.
I was like, it's like bad omen. Like everything just went wrong. So firstly, I've been practicing the day before and I left my laptop charger at work.
Okay, good start.
So great start. So I was running around the house. My sister was running around the house. We're trying to find a charger. Eventually we found a charger. Great. Get set up. Get logged into the call. Say hi to everyone. Do our greetings. And then Dean goes, if you have a presentation, just press the button at the top and you can share your screen. So I click on that. It kicks me out the call. So then I have to then log back into the call. Click back onto the share screen, again, kicks me out. So then Dean is calling Rachel going, hey, it's not working. Can you get her to send it out to me? Yeah. That's it. She's done. Could you imagine?
Yeah.
So Dean's calling Rachel, going, can you get her to email it to me and I'll show it on the screen? So I email it over to him. I go back in the call. I'm like, right, 3rd time's the charm. It'll be great. So he's obviously sharing it on his screen, but I'm doing the presentation. And obviously when you're rehearsing, you rehearse with all of your like side transitions, because we only had 10 minutes to do it. So I was timing it on certain transitions and everything. And I didn't have any of that. So he just had it up on the screen and then was clicking through the slides.
Right.
All of that was gone out the window. And then after every slide, I was having to go, okay, next slide, please.
Oh no, not that line. Oh, you just triggered me. Oh. Yeah.
After every slide, I have to go, okay, next slide, please.
Oh, that is brilliant. Oh, goodness gracious.
And then, yes, did that. I think they gave me a little bit of mercy. I think I went maybe a couple seconds over. But I think they gave a little bit of mercy of the having to ask for the next slide and waiting for the sort of the video to catch up with it being on the next slide. So yeah, I did that. And then I thought at the end, I was like, do you know, I'm just going to have to hit them with something. So they were like, oh, do you have any questions? Bearing in mind, they're all sort of like CEOs, general managers, industry leaders, essentially.
Yeah. Is anybody smiling at this point? Or are they being like really
That was the worst
full-faced?
part. They were pretty much straight face, all of them. They did
Right.
so well. Straight face the entire time. And in my head, I was thinking, right, we got to do something here, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Got to bring the tone up a little bit. So, yes, they asked if I had any questions, and I just went, yeah, if you guys have got any jobs going in management, let me know. I was like, do you know what? If you don't ask, you don't get.
No, it did. Yeah.
So luckily, they all started laughing at that point.
Right. Yeah, I've got them finally after 10 minutes of hell.
So I was like, I just have to leave it on a little bit of a laugh because, at the end of the day, I think they had 17 presentations to listen to or something like
right,
that
yeah.
over the whole day. So I was like, I'm midway through. They're probably exhausted at this point. We've got to make them laugh a little bit. So we left them on that. End of the day, all good and done. And then we got into the finals. So then we went up to London, Dorchester. So me and Jay, my front of house manager, went up there. And my time slot was 3:00. We got there for 12 because we're overachievers.
Wow. And also with the trains these days, probably a good strategy.
Yeah, I was pretty panicking on the way up. And so we did the finals. And the finals was we had a 10-minute Q&A. I think they asked about 5 questions. Again, there was five judges there. 5? 4? Oh my goodness. The whole thing, I think, it's just completely gone. I think I've just blocked it all out, to be honest with you, the amount of stress. But there was a panel of judges, and we had to answer 5 questions or so. We had 15 minutes to do that. And then we had to do a 10-minute role play.
Yeah, they're always fun.
They're so fun. So we had to do that. We were given a scenario. We were given the scenario beforehand. So you can prepare so much, but at the end of the day, you really just got to let instinct take over.
Yeah.
On how you deal with it. And I was there. The worst part, it was so much fun. I will say it was so much fun. But for me, the cringiest part was I was having to check to see if a room was ready, and I was having to use my invisible laptop to type on the computer. So I was there just typing on an invisible laptop going, yep, the room will be ready in 40 minutes for you, sir.
You should have said, no, it's not. Would you like a drink in the bar while you wait?
So it was very fun. It was very surreal. It's one of those moments where I think I was so nervous. I was like shaking beforehand, so nervous. And then I think once I got into the room, my brain just went, nope, work mode. And it was fine.
Oh, well, that's good. I thought you were going to say, once I got into the room, brain went, what are you doing?
Although I do think there was one moment, it was after the Q&A had finished and we were going into the role play, I was stood at the check-in desk, which was 2 glass tables. And I just went, okay. And I was like, oh my God, I just have to get it out. They found that. I'm glad they found that funny because in the moment I was like, terrified.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? This is. I love every second of this because one, you've totally personalized this. Like everybody's journey through this would be completely different, right? But maybe half 100%. The battle of this is it's not about the stuff that you're asked to do. It's about your response to the things that happen, which is exactly what the role of being an excellent receptionist is, right? You had all the technical issues, and yet you still fought through them to deliver what you did, and then exhibited a bit of personality at the end with your little joke. As well. Maybe it wasn't a joke. I don't know. Maybe you were. There was a tinge of seriousness.
You haven't emailed me. I am still waiting on the emails.
Really? Okay. Right. Maybe they want to see how you get on in the next phase.
Yeah, in the next phase.
But I mean, wow. And also, I suppose it's putting you into situation after situation, which is testing you, right? Which is exactly the point. To see how you respond and when your comfort zone is stretched.
100%. Like me going back working, finishing my 4 a.m. shift in the pub, never thought that I would be UK's best receptionist. It's just crazy to say, and I wouldn't, it's such an opportunity, and it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zones, but it's definitely expanded them, so it's not so much anymore.
Yeah,
But
well, that's just as well because you're not finished yet.
no,
Oh
not
yeah,
finished quite
sorry
yet.
unless you hadn't thought about that already, but because yeah, now that you've won the UK's best, what happens next? He
So
says as if he doesn't know.
you're going to correct me on something in a minute. You're like, oh, actually. No, so next is I go to France, Nice in February, and I will be competing for World's Best Receptionist. So it's the David Campbell Trophy is what
Right.
I'm going for next. So I'll be competing against other countries. So I'll be going as a representative for the UK against all these other countries. Yeah, I don't know too much about it at the moment. We're still waiting on sort of what the next stages are. I do the brief of what's to come. But I do know I've got a 2-minute video that I need to film fairly soon as sort of for their marketing. But apart from that, very sort of in the dark. So yeah, it should be fun. Well, if anything, it's a holiday in Nice.
Yeah, the worst case scenario, I get to see Nice.
I get to go see Nice.
Yeah, there are worse places to see as well, for sure.
Exactly.
But I tell you, lovely time of the year to do your video with I'm assuming that at the festive time, Pennyhill looks amazing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Get some festive shots in there with your guy who's got the skills.
Yeah, we'll get James to get some good shots of the hotel. But yeah, it's beautiful. I think we're going into phase 2 of decorations very soon. So hopefully, I know so we had phase 1, and then we've just finished. We have this bank. They book out the entire hotel for exclusive use for about 4 days.
Exclusive use. I see what you did there.
Yeah, exclusive use. It's a good play on words. But yeah, so it's one of the ones where no one can come into the hotel unless they're part of this company. So yeah, it's fully just them. They like it Christmassy, but not too Christmassy. So we hold back on some of the decorations, and we do phase 2 after they leave. And I know Sarah Franklin, our head chef, executive chef, I believe. Sorry, Sarah. And last year we've got a doorway into our bar, and she completely turned it into a gingerbread house. So the walls were lined with gingerbread.
Goodness.
Like fresh gingerbread. So when you came in, it instantly smelled of Christmas. So hopefully they do that this year. But yeah, waiting on phase 2. So we got to film the video, and then I think there's going to be a tussle over who comes with me from the hotel. So we'll find out. Not too sure yet.
Yeah, a fight to the death, probably.
Yeah. Who's like, who's coming to Nice?
But also, a wonderful, wonderful experience for you, no question. Whatever happens, right? I mean, just the experience to be involved in that is going to be incredible. But a wonderful exposure for the UK tourism scene as well, I think. And specifically, I think that just the great work that you guys do with an exclusive. I'm a big fan, always have been. Danny's a friend of the show. If you're listening, I'm sure he'll be listening. Thanks for coming on the show that time, Danny. And yeah, I think what you do there from the outside looking in is exactly what hospitality should be. So for me, I can't think of any brand that would represent the UK better, but I certainly haven't spoken to you now for the best part of an hour. I mean, you're everything that's wonderful about this industry, because your story does not conform to a rigid way of how you get somewhere. You've let your personality do the work for you to get to where you are, and now that you've arrived, you're backing that up with growth and through setting these little challenges that seem to be happening for you. So the world is your oyster in this industry, and you're walking that right now.
Yeah,
I sound like your dad.
Only the start. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, no worries.
No, this really is just the start. I've been in hospitality for 7 years, and this is just the beginning of what's to come next. So I'm just very, very excited. There's no plans for the future. I'm just sort of seeing seeing where it takes me. I'm very excited for that. So we'll see.
I think that's a good message in itself, though, because I think a lot of the time the plan can get in the way of actually just taking what's in front of you, and the plan will come. There's no question about that. And at the moment, you're in a great place. You think I believe you're surrounded by great people as well, who will always have your back and will always look after you and give you the opportunities to shine.
Definitely.
So I'm just writing your marketing plan for you now, Danny, as well. But I genuinely mean it. I mean, I have my tongue in my mouth when I say that, but I genuinely think that your message there is great, because why be in a hurry, right? You're in a place you like to be. You're doing a role that you clearly engage with, and everything else will sort itself out in the fullness of time.
Yeah, I think people, I'm victim to it myself, forget that you do actually have time to sort of learn, figure out. You don't need to know what you want to do. You can just figure it as you go along. I want to move up to kick Jay off and go front of house manager, or Rachel rooms division manager, as the goals. But years from now I might find, love housekeeping, and then it just takes me off on a different trail. So I think you just got, the most important thing for hospitality, you just got to be open. Don't go in with what are these called, the deer blinkers. The horse blinkers.
Yeah,
gonna call them horse masks.
Horse masks. I think that's better, frankly. Right, hashtag horse masks is going on the marketing.
Again, it might not be at work, but I've learned something new.
Yeah, indeed.
Blinkers.
Yeah.
Don't put your blinkers on. Take your horse mask off.
Oh, God. What are you doing to me? Yes. What were we talking about? How did you get into hospitality in the first place? No, I think we've covered that. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Of course you're right. Whatever. We've reached that stage of the conversation, I think. But no, look, I wish you, and I'm sure anybody listening to this will wish you all the very best in the next phase of the competition as well.
Thank you.
I'll be keeping my beady eyes on your progress, and I hope you come away with what you want from the trip, whatever that might be, even if it's not the golden ticket. But you'll get it. You'll get it.
I know. I'm hoping so. I'm going in with a very positive attitude about it, and not sort of letting the stress overshadow the actual experience itself. So
you have to remember to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, be in the moment is the most important part for this stage. So but it's a lot of pressure, UK.
Well, all eyes will be on you as well, right? Everybody will oh, she's won, is she? Okay, what's she got then? Go on then.
Yeah. I feel like everyone's judging my check-in process now.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, didn't check the hands, did you?
Yeah.
On that one.
Oh, dear me. Right. So. I think that's it. I think, you've gotten through. See, another experience ticked off.
Another experience.
I thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute joy from start to finish.
Thank you for having me.
And wish you well into 2024. And maybe we'll get you back on if you come away with the big trophy.
Well, I've got to win it now.
Indeed. Absolutely. There you go. That's the incentive you needed, and
That's the incentive.
Yeah, absolutely. But just make sure you leave your horse mask at home, okay?
We'll leave it at home.
Yeah.
Not the blinkers. The blinkers are coming with me.
Very good. Yeah. Nice one. Thanks so much, Chelsea.
Thank you very much.
Take care. And there we have it. What a fabulous guest Chelsea was, a riot from start to finish, and she's forging herself a cracking career as well. That's the last show ahead of Christmas, so all that remains for me to say is have yourselves a merry little Christmas, and we'll be back again on the 27th with another awesome story from hospitality. We'll see you then.